Hi everyone, this is Caly Person. Thanks so much for joining me here on my YouTube channel. I'm so excited to share today's Pink and Main card with you. It's using the Flurry of Fun stamp set from their latest release, which is now available. And I'm just sharing this one card, but the full release is adorable, so you'll need to check it out. So here's a look at the Flurry of Fun stamp set. It's got some cute snowmen and polar bear and some penguins. And I've decided for this card to make a shaker card using the little cute penguins, the snowman, and the other accessory images that will set up a snowball fight scene. And I am purposely choosing images that I can add a lot of color to. I know with winter images, a lot of times with snow, it's going to be a lot of white. So I'm adding as many pops of colors as I can. So for their winter accessories, their scarves, hats, I'm going to add some pinks and purples here and there, as well as teal, and making that scarf on the snowman super bright with that bright red. Now I know I'm speeding through the coloring pretty quickly here, but if you want the color combinations, everything will be listed on the coordinating blog post and it will be linked below down in the descriptions. Once I'm done cutting, I'm going to use these coordinating dies to die cut out all of the images. Makes everything so much easier than fussy cutting, and I'll set that aside while I work on the oval forest view die frame here. I'm going to create a frame and turn it into a shaker card. So I'm just going to use the outer scallop decorated edging and the winter scene on the inside. And then I'll use that to cut one frame. And in order to turn this into a shaker card, I'm going to cut a oval window using some acetate. And that oval frame that I didn't use before is the perfect size. And instead of running this acetate through the die cutting machine, because I don't know about you, but most of the time it doesn't cut through acetate for me without lots of shims, and I just didn't want to fuss with that. And the window for the acetate doesn't need to be perfect anyway, so I just use the oval die as a guide to cut out the oval shape for this window. Then I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive and work my way around the back side of that frame so that I can adhere my acetate to that frame. Now I'm using double-sided adhesive because I don't like liquid adhesive when I'm adhering acetate to paper. If it were paper to paper, then glue is my #1 choice. However, anytime I use acetate, I want to use a strong double-sided adhesive. So once I've attached it, I've got my window created there. Now I want to create a background. This time I'm going to use that oval die and die cut a piece of paper so that I can ink blend a soft winter background. I'm using Oceanside ink from Concord and Ninth, and I'm just going to ink blend the top half of this panel because I want to incorporate a second color. I love blending two colors for any sky. I think it creates more interest and adds more color to a card. So now I'm going to add some yellow towards the bottom, sort of like a sunset in the winter. And the bottom, I'm just going to leave white because it kind of fades into snow for this particular scene. Now to create a well for my shaker elements, I'm going to use some 3D foam strips here and go all around the edge of the scalloped frame on this window, making sure there are no gaps in the adhesive so that I can keep the shaker elements inside this shaker panel. I know there are lots of ways to do this. You can either cut many layers of this window and stack them for height. That's a really sturdy way to do it. I don't like to waste paper in that way, so I tend to use 3D foam adhesive for shakers. Now for the embellishments, I am using Gina K's Micro Disco Ball Sequins. These are so pretty and small and iridescent, and I thought they would be a great shaker element for this window. So I'm going to make sure that all of the embellishments are in one single layer so that they don't get caught in the window and trapped underneath between the paper and the acetate. So they're all shaking freely, and that looks great to me. So I'll set that aside and we can work on the background. Now for the background, I am using the new Swiss Dot embossing folder, and I'm just going to emboss a plain white piece of paper. Kind of imitates snow a little bit, and I thought it would be perfect for the outer edges around this oval scene. I'm going to adhere this directly to a card base. And once the adhesive is dry on this, I'll use that oval forest view window shaker that I created, and I'll add some more liquid adhesive and adhere that right to the center of that card. I'm using a bit more glue on this panel because I know that only the raised areas on that embossed background is going to catch on this window, so I want to make sure that it adheres well. Now that the base of the card is created, I can use all those colored stamped images and set up my scene. I like to lay everything out before I adhere anything down, making sure I have space for all the images that I want to use, and then making sure that there's plenty of room for a sentiment as well. Once I'm happy with my layout, I'm going to start adhering things together. I want this penguin to be holding a snowball, so I adhere that to the penguin's hand first and then adhere him to the scene. They're not exactly having a snowball fight in this scene, but it looks like they're setting up for one. I just think it's so cute. And again, for adhering any images to acetate, I like to use double-sided adhesive. So that's what I'm doing for this snowman. And there are hanging stars from these trees in the background. So I just kind of tucked him under a little bit where the stars are hanging above his head. And then I'll adhere the rest of the images with some liquid adhesive. And typically I would use foam adhesive as well to create dimension, but we've got plenty of dimension on that shaker window. So I decided to go ahead and adhere all of these images directly to that window. All right, now I said there were some stars hanging from the branches of the trees on this oval forest view die. So I wanted to add some sparkle to them. So I'm using some Nuvo glitter drops in honey gold. So we're adding a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of color to all the stars that are hanging from those branches in those trees, and just makes everything a little bit more whimsical. And while those stars are drying, I'm going to set aside the panel and work on a sentiment. I'm going to stamp and emboss the sentiment over black cardstock using some clear ink and white embossing powder. So while I go through that process in the video, I wanted to share with all my viewers, I am so glad you're here, and I hope that going forward I can share more videos on my channel with all of you folks. And if you're not already a subscriber, I would love it if you'd subscribe, hit that bell button to get notified when there are new videos. I'm in a transition period with my work, and I'm hoping to create more content for my channel, and it would be really helpful if you all saw when I posted and are able to view it right away and to give me the engagement that will help boost my channel. So I appreciate any support that I can get and hope you all enjoy the content that I'm going to be creating for my channel. So back to this card, I'm going to adhere my sentiment now right in between the stars up in the branches, and then I'll finish off by adding some white gel highlights all around to add more interest to this card. And that finishes my card for today. There is an Instagram hop over on Instagram with P&M Maine for this release, and there is a $50 gift card up for grabs, and that is going to end on October 31st, 2025. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye, everyone.